ShotokuTech, Saturday Story Time. These are the stories that you might have missed while you were caught up in other stories. Welcome back to ShotokuTech, Saturday Story Time, 22 August 2020 edition. This from USA Today. Who had sea lice on their 2020 bingo card? Sea lice have been reported at New Jersey beaches. This tropical storm Isaias has carried the pests up the coast from their normal location in Florida, and they're being reported on New Jersey beaches. So sea lice aren't lice, they're actually jellyfish larvae, and they have the same stinging cells as full-grown jellyfish. They'll leave a mark. So they get caught in your bathing suit and they leave a red rash and small blisters. So after ocean exposure, swimmers need to change out of their bathing suits, take a freshwater shower, and make sure your bathing suits are thoroughly washed with detergent and heat dried after use. This from WFMZ.com. If you had Firenado on your bingo card, you just filled in another square. So a fire tornado is a real thing, and unfortunately the National Weather Service in Reno, Nevada is issuing a fire tornado warning. The warning was issued to warn firefighters fighting the uncontained fire in California near the state's border with Nevada. Fires are particularly intense in these areas with the fire tornado, and the fire will have unpredictable movement in that area due to crosswinds, so it's dangerous for firefighters to be in that area. Fire tornadoes don't form the same way actual tornadoes do. A fire tornado forms when the air is dry. It's not a true tornado, but it has the look of a tornado. So as the wildfire warms the air above the ground, the fire on the ground traces the rising air. As the fire traces the rising air, it gets twisted by crosswinds. A tornado is an area of rising, twisting air. Clouds normally do this, but in this case it's the fire. This from Yahoo News. China restaurant apologizes for weighing customers. The beef restaurant in the central city of Changsha was heavily criticized on social media as soon as this policy was unveiled. Customers were asked to stand on scales and scan their data into an app that recommended their food choices based on their weight and the dish's caloric value. President Xi Jinping had urged the nation to stop wasting food, so he started this Clean Plate initiative. So this restaurant was really just responding to that. They're also asking that groups of customers order one less dish than the number of diners at the table to prevent food waste. In a swift backlash, hashtags related to the incident have been viewed over 300 million times on the social platform Weibo. Chinese state media is also urging people not to do viral binge eating videos known as mukbang. This story from MSN.com. Penguins emerged 22 million years ago in Australia and New Zealand. So researchers from Chile analyzed penguin genomes and determined this evolutionary history of the flightless aquatic birds. As climate changed and land masses shifted, these birds adapted to chillier climates and began moving to Antarctica some 9 million years ago. There's 18 different species of penguins. This diversification and adaptation to these environments remains controversial. This analysis indicates that penguins likely first emerged along the temperate coastlines of New Zealand and Australia around 21.9 million years ago. This is the Miocene epoch. The researchers found penguins only much later went on and expanded their range to occupy the colder regions around the Antarctic Peninsula, and later warmer areas along the South American coastline. These shifts were triggered by changes in the climate and the opening of the Drake Passage between South America and Antarctica, as well as the intensification of the current that flows around Antarctica 11 million years ago. The genes that show signals of positive selection are associated with thermoregulation, osmoregulation, which is the balance of fluids and salt, and diving capacity, or oxygen storage. These adaptations allowed penguins to colonize areas outside of where they first originated. BBC.com reports hands-free driving could be made legal in UK roads. Many modern cars already have technology that keep them in the lanes for extended periods, although current law requires the drivers need to be ready to take back control at any time. So this autopilot is known as Level 2. This Level 2 is one of 5 defined levels of self-driving cars. The next step, Level 3, where the driver's attention is not needed at all times, requires a change in the law. And so the Department of Transportation in the UK is considering changes to the current legal framework. This technology could be given the go-ahead for speeds up to 70 miles per hour. So there's this call for evidence to look whether these types of cars can be classed as automated, meaning the technology provider rather than the driver would be responsible for the safety while the system is engaged. There have, however, been a number of incidents involving the current driver assist feature in which the drivers did not pay enough attention to the road, and such cases have caused some to question the marketing of these self-driving features as to whether that is misleading to customers. Okay, so here's another one for your 2020 bingo card. International Business Times is reporting that NASA is tracking a dent in the Earth's magnetic field. So there's this unusually weak spot in the magnetic field that surrounds the Earth and protects it from solar radiation. It's over South America and the Atlantic Ocean. It's called the South Atlantic Anomaly. Solar material from solar flares gets trapped in the Earth's magnetosphere, and that protects us from this radiation. But this dip allows that material to get closer to the Earth. And it could be problematic for future satellites in low Earth orbit. The International Space Station is also being affected by SAA. It causes detector blips about once a month. Futurism.com is reporting that an exploding star likely caused mass extinction on Earth. Researchers at the University of Illinois say that perhaps a supernova 65 light-years from the Earth could have caused a mass extinction event during the late Devonian period 359 million years ago. Researchers have found radioactive isotopes in rocks that may be able to confirm such an event. During this Devonian period, most of life was found in the oceans. One of the worst mass extinctions in Earth's history occurred, and it's never been clear what caused it. So the researchers have been looking at these rocks that contain ancient plant spores. These spores appear to have been severely sunburnt by ultraviolet light, likely the consequence of the lack of ozone in the atmosphere. Now, Earth-based catastrophes like volcanism and global warming could destroy the ozone layer, but it's not conclusive for this time interval in question. They propose that one or more supernova explosions could have been responsible for this protracted loss of ozone. Other ozone depletion causes, like meteor impacts or gamma ray bursts, wouldn't have caused this ozone depletion for a period that could have lasted up to 100,000 years. But a violent supernova could have flooded our planet with dangerous UV, X, and gamma rays and irradiate the ozone layer. So they're continuing to look for the smoking gun, which is 2 specific radioactive isotopes of plutonium, to see if they originate from the late Devonian period. USA Today reports good news if you're a Wolverines fan. They're spotted now at Mount Rainier National Park for the first time in over 100 years. The National Park Service and scientists with the conservation organization Cascades Carnivore Project spotted the female Wolverine and her 2 offspring called Kits. It's really exciting. This tells us about the condition of the park. When we have such large-ranging carnivores present on the landscape, we're doing a good job of managing our wilderness. Wolverines are rare in the United States, with less than 1,000 living in the lower 48 states. In Washington state, there are only about 20 of them. Wolverines are the largest members of the weasel family. They weigh about 44 pounds. They tend to live in mountainous areas. This is way outside the beaten path for wolverines. It's not near the habitats they're usually at. So the National Park Service has set up cameras throughout the park. Officials are also asking the public to report any wildlife observations or Wolverine photos to the park's database. Wolverines are solitary animals, and despite their reputation for aggressiveness, they pose no risk to visitors. It's likely they will flee as soon as they notice you. This from BusinessInsider.com. The International Space Station has sprung a small air leak. So the personnel on board are going to hunker down to help find and repair it. On Thursday, NASA reported that the ISS is experiencing a slightly increased leakage of air. It doesn't represent an immediate danger, and it's within normal operating limits. But because of the increase, the personnel on board are going to stay inside the Russian module named Zvezda, so that they can close the hatches to all the modules and see which one has the biggest reduction in pressure. ISS always leaks a little bit of air, but the air loss has slightly increased. So they have to kind of stay in one place so that mission controllers on Earth can figure out where the problem is and how to fix it. So NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy and his Roscosmos crewmates Ivan Wagner and Anatoly Ivanishin will spend the weekend huddled inside the station's Zvezda service module. And they have this Soyuz spacecraft standing by in case they need to make an emergency return back to Earth. Thank you for watching ShotokuTech Saturday Story Time. And look for the link in the description down below to this Blogspot article with all the URLs to the stories we just covered. Thank you, and have a great week. Thank you for watching ShotokuTech. Please subscribe, comment, like, and share.